Hey my friends, thanks for joining me here once again, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my first year of transitioning my hair in review right here. So if that's why you clicked on this video, if that's of interest to you, then stay here because that's coming right up. It's been a little surreal, exciting, a little unreal as I've been nearing this point in time, realizing in the last few weeks, like, oh my gosh, I'm almost at 1 year since I last dyed my hair. And I'm sure that if you've been growing out your hair, you can imagine this full well, or you know full well that when you first begin especially, it seems like this is taking forever. Part of that is because we've gotten very excited in coming to the choice to let our hair grow out, and once we have fully and solidly come to that choice, we kind of are so excited that we just want it to be there already. And so that makes time seem like it's just going very slowly. Kind of like when we were waiting for our birthday party when we were kids, or those holiday parties, or those holiday presents, and we knew the time was near, and yet we couldn't stop thinking about it every minute of every day, and so those days dragged on really, really slowly. Well, it's kind of like that once we decide that we're going to do this. And part of that is because we've gotten inspired by so many photos and videos of other lovely people who have already transitioned their hair fully and completely, and we've gotten inspired, we've imagined ourselves looking like they do or somewhat close to it. And so we just kind of can't wait to be there ourselves, right? So that makes it seem like it's taking a really long time. And then boom, if you're someone like me, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm already at 1 year. When did that happen? But I'm so happy it did. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look first at what my hair looked like before I really fully, completely decided I'm not going to dye it again. And here's some imagery of that. If you've been wondering about different types of meditation postures and which ones might be right for you, you're in the perfect place. We're going to be looking at a few typical meditation postures, some you probably heard of, others you may not have. And we're going to cover how to find the right one or ones for you. And I was just sliding into about 2 months. It was just a few days away from the 2-month point of when I last dyed my hair on May 10th, 2018. I was highly suspecting I wasn't going to dye it again. But that came after just about a year of strongly thinking about letting my hair grow out. At the point that I dyed my hair the last time, I didn't know going into that dye job that I was going to then choose for it to be my last. If you're liking this video, if you're liking anything I'm sharing here along the way, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and just give it a yes in the comments below. Let me know that you're digging it. Show some love and some support. Somewhere between the 3 and the 4 month point, I started really having a lot of difficulties with how I was looking. It just was not pleasant a lot of the time for me. I remember thinking, I really don't know about this. I don't know. I just don't know. I felt like I looked terrible. I felt like my hair looked terrible. I had thought that I had prepared myself well for this when I had seen so many progression of the transformation images of a variety of women who have made that public for others who are about to embark on the journey or who are thinking of embarking on the journey so that they can check that out. And I had looked at many of them and I thought that I had prepared myself for the fact that yes, once it's about a little bit more than an inch or so, to about here at least, it can look pretty funky. And in a lot of cases, it really doesn't start looking a lot better until it starts getting more toward the bottom of the face. And this is because there's a lot of clashing of undertones between the two different colors, between the dyed hair and the natural hair, because the undertone colors in the dye are not really anything like what would be in natural hair. And so there tends to be a lot of clashing that's going on, and when that starts coming around your face, it oftentimes just really does not look good. In fact, for as much younger as a woman tends to look once her hair is transitioned out, she oftentimes will look a little bit older and a little bit more funky and sometimes even a little more sickly when the transition points are kind of in this area, because there's just so much clashing of the colors, of the undertones. I've explained that in more detail in some of my earlier videos, so if you want to hear more about that, go check those out. All of a sudden at the 3-month and 2 or 3 week point, all of a sudden I felt like I was just seeing so much more white. And a lot of times I have my hair, let's see, like a little bit more back, because I don't have it just fluffed out and down all the time. So I'm sure you can kind of see that, especially when it's back off my face. Like the part that's hanging down is back, or because I'll have it in a bun or whatever. It really radically changed how I felt I saw myself in the mirror. And I have to admit, it hasn't been that easy since that point took place. Because what I became present to, that I hadn't really realized up until then, was that I had been seeing the emerging silvery whites, grays, whatever you want to call them. And then I'd have this brown on top. And now it's kind of fluffed out, so it sort of looks like it has this brown coming in on top again. But my hair isn't normally this fluffy, so I'm like, let me see. So I started really kind of seeing myself in a really different way. And it just changed. I guess what happened was that it just got long enough to where it just tipped back enough to where the brown kind of disappeared out of view more of the time. Now again here, if I'm puffing it up, you can kind of see a little bit more. Of course I made it look like a mess. But, yeah. So anyway, it's actually, I don't know why I should have been surprised, because I've seen a lot of transition pictures. And especially with women who've been awesome enough to show, they'll have all kinds of shots, like maybe before they started, at the very, like maybe 1 month point, 2 month point, and then they'll kind of skip a few months at a time. It has looked to me pretty much consistently that once they get to about the 3 month point, or a little bit after the 3 month point, until, I don't know, somewhere about there to there, sometimes there, they don't always look very good. They do tend to look older than they did with just dyed hair, and definitely than they do with it fully transitioned and grown out. And in spite of the fact that I've seen this over and over and over again and thought that I had prepared myself well for it, it was another thing coming to terms with that whenever I would walk into the bathroom and just kind of turn and glimpse at myself. But once I reached this 3 month, 2 or 3 week point, and it all of a sudden changed in how it looked, I have to be honest, because I promised I was going to be honest here for myself, as well as to really, I feel, be of aid to anyone else. Because, you know, not everyone has the same experiences, but even people who are overall happy about this are probably going to have kind of a bad day. And I've had many not so great days about this lately. I've seriously really questioned if this was the thing to do, but I haven't been certain that this is really the right thing to do. Although today this looks better to me. This looks better. But it has been challenging, and so, and I have thought, well, gee, maybe I should just dye it again, you know, because yeah, I know as I continue to get older, this dye color against my complexion is not going to look good. The older I get, the worse that is going to look. That is what tends to happen. And the prettier the natural color would tend to look. So I kind of think starting a little younger is probably beneficial in many ways. But still, honestly, I was having quite the conflict here. Not entirely sure that this is really what I should do, because I've also felt like my hair, like people kind of know me for this look, especially if I show up with it down. They kind of know me like this almost like trademark kind of looking hair. And I really have liked that about myself, even though it doesn't always cooperate the best way all the time with being it's curly and all. And here I am at the 4 month point. At this point, there's 4 months no dye. So as you can see, it's definitely growing out longer, which obviously we expect to a point with the passing of time. Fortunately, I held out and made it through because just as I was approaching the 5-month point, my hair grew out just a smidgen enough more to where I was able to start really seeing how nice my complexion and my skin tone was looking against the new grow out color. At that point, that was the first time really I started to get pretty happy about it, because I started to really see the vision of how nice my skin and my complexion was going to look against my own natural color. Let's take a brief look at that. Yes, people, it's been 5 months since I dyed my hair last. And I'm pretty excited about how this is looking. And I've started to notice within the last week or so that this new color really tends to make my skin tone pop beautifully. It makes it look a little like I even have a tan. I'm really digging that. Yeah. Nature has it way more figured out than the dye company manufacturers, baby. And now here I was at the 7-month point. I filmed this just a touch after the 7-month point, and it was shortly after I put this up that the whole mishap took place. But here I was so happy, I was so thrilled. All my white hairs were still pretty white, everything was pretty glorious, I was pretty thrilled. Let's take a brief look at that. It's been 7 months and 5 days today since I last dyed my hair. Here I am at the 7-month point, so I'm going to show you into my line of demarcation. I also have some really fascinating discoveries that I have recently found within my hair. This, of course, is some of my whiter parts. Can see, I'm going to really mess up my hair here. So that was my line of demarcation. Now I'm going to show you what I discovered, and I'm so excited by this because I've never found anything like this on myself. I don't even think I've seen anything like this on anyone else. And now let's take a look at my findings. You may recall, if you've seen some of my videos, that maybe a couple of months ago or so, I mentioned that I've had a lot of crazy hair growth. Now, at various points in my life, and I'm sure most of us, you yourself, have probably had this too, where upon occasion, you'll see these little kind of wispy little hairs kind of growing in around the hairline. And usually when it happens, there will be quite a number of them. And it can actually be a little annoying at times because as they kind of grow out, they're kind of a little bit tweaky looking and a little hard to deal with, right? And I have had that happen very infrequently within my life. Like, I think maybe every few years, I would maybe have this kind of a thing. Since I stopped dyeing my hair 7 months ago, I've had 3 major bursts of small hairs in the hairline. But something that really I caught on to just a few days ago is I actually have clumps of new hair growing inside the hairline. And while I am sure that as we're losing a little bit of hairs each day when we wash or brush our hair, and that's normal, and we're going to, of course, if we're healthy and regenerating properly, we're going to replace those hairs. And so within our scalp area, we're going to be able to find, you know, a new little hair here or there, like kind of sporadically mixed in. So it's going to just blend very naturally, and it's going to be well hidden inside the bulk of our hair. But what I have actually found inside my hairline is clumps of new hairs growing in, and I think that's why I've had all these tweaky little shapes going on over here. You may recall me talking about. Now let's see if I can find them, because it's a little harder to see in my screen than in the mirror. Okay, but look at this. See these? Okay, now this is a little longer But look at how short these are, and this is not at my hairline. My hairline is out here. This is inside here. And I have a lot of these. Somewhere I have an even bigger clump than this. It's just very hard to see in my little screen. So I'm not sure if I'm effectively showing this to you. Now I have some more over here also. Look at that, okay? And that's inside the hairline. There's a lot of them. And I had found, I think yesterday, I had actually found another clump that I was just completely shocked at how much hair it was. And of course, now that I'm trying to find it for you, I'm having trouble. It's just because, you know, when I'm looking in the mirror, here's some more of it. And you see that? Look how far back that is. That's this far back. All of that growing inside my hairline. Now, of course, back in my scalp and the backside, okay, look at this. Do you see that? Look at all these short hairs. Look how far into my hairline that is. 2 days after I posted the 7-month video is when I stepped in the shower with white streaks of hair and got out of the shower looking like a sunset was dropped all over my hair. I wasn't upset right away because for some reason I thought it was just going to wash right out. Kind of like if you put some white clothes in with a red article of clothing and you've got hot water running because you're washing white clothes, and the hot water makes the dye from the red article of clothing bleed and gets into the clothing that's white. It turns kind of pink. And if you know this, if you put it back through hot water, more often than not it'll wash right out. For some reason, I thought that's what was going to happen. So I didn't freak out right away. I didn't freak out until after I took another shower and washed my hair. Well, I mean, I took other showers in between, but at that point I was rinsing out my hair fairly infrequently. It was about 5 days later when I went to go in and rinse it again. It didn't come out, and that's when I started to kind of panic. Let's take a look at what some of that was like. Hey my friends, I hope your holiday season is off to a good start. Thank you again for joining me here on yet another video. I have actually had a bit of a hair mishap since I last filmed my 7-month of growing out my silvery hair video, which was the last video I posted. I had actually intended on making so many more videos between then and now, and the mishap that took place occurred 2 days later, after 2 days after I had posted that video. And I've really been at a complete loss, truthfully, as to what even happened, and even at more of a loss as to what to do. So what happened was, 2 days after I had posted that last video, I went in to rinse out my hair. And if you've seen some of my other videos, then you know that I have been barely using shampoo at all. And I had gotten that down to about once a month. And so I went in and I just rinsed my hair, and it had been probably about 4 days since I had felt the need to rinse it out. I probably rinsed it out the day before I filmed my 7-month video. So I went in the shower, I took a look at my hair in the mirror on my way in, and it looked just as silvery and the same as when I had filmed my video that day for you. I went in, rinsed out my hair in kind of very warm water. I know with curly you're not supposed to, but I just can't do cold water. And it was nice, you know, I don't have a mirror in the shower, so I didn't see what was happening or anything. And when I got out, kind of looked in the mirror a few minutes after the steam cleared, and which is a normal occurrence because I enjoy looking at the white hair when it's wet. It just looks a little more contrasting against the dark when it's kind of wet. And to my surprise, my white hair didn't really look too white anymore in most places. It kind of looked pinkish and orangish and, I don't know, like copper or like rose gold. And some of it's come out. I've washed it since then with like 4 rounds of clarifying shampoo and vinegar, and some of it's lightened. It doesn't look as bad in the video screen to me as it does in the mirror, but it's still in here. It's over here. Some of these are new hairs that I was showing you in that video, and they're so short that all they really would have been is white. But over here you can really see it. And this is all white hair, like underneath whatever the hell this is. I don't have any idea what this is. I don't know what happened. But so far, 4 rounds of clarifying shampoo and a few vinegar rinses haven't gotten this out. It is a little bit lighter here than what happened, and that's the only encouraging thing, but my whites were coming back further. At this point, it almost looks to me like I've been growing out my hair for 4 months or 5 instead of 7.5, which is where I'm at right now. And this looks like I haven't even grown it out at all. And so this has been really disheartening, and it just looks awful. I feel like it looks like I took random shades of paint, or like almost like that. I've seen people with temporary dye when it washes out. I've never put temporary dye in my hair, but I've seen where it starts to look like it's kind of fading out, and I mean, it kind of looks like that to me. But truthfully, I'm at a loss, and I mean, I had white coming down into here. This is an especially white. I mean, I want to say it's just covered by whatever this is right now. It's really, really white here. One of my whitest areas, actually, and right now it looks like the least whitest area. And here I am at 10.5 months. The grow out is getting better. The mishap has lightened some. I still don't feel like I look very great at this point, but I'm starting to have a little bit more hope because it has started to show signs of lightening up at this side, which is where it got hit the most. And so it's enough to sort of egg me on to keep me from dyeing my hair. But at that point, I'm still thinking about it a lot of the time, to be quite honest. Let's take a look at some of that footage. Hey my friends, I have something exciting I've been wanting to actually share with you for the last few months, but like I have said in another video, at about the point when I made my 7-month video, I had so many exciting video ideas that I had been planning on doing for you, some of which I had been vocal about, and then after the whole hair mishap thing happened, it just was really hard for me to come back on video and try and talk about all these things from the standpoint of being pretty well into my own growing out my gray hair transition, because it didn't so much look like I had been growing my hair out for very long at all at that point. And so I knew that those of you who had been watching my videos would understand why my hair looked like that, and that it probably really wouldn't bother you, or you probably wouldn't think less of what I was saying because of it. But I was really concerned that with how little it looked like my hair had grown out at that point, that anybody new seeing them would kind of be questioning, like who is this person? It looks like she stopped dyeing her hair. Like, I mean, in some areas it didn't even look like I actually grew it out at all. Over here, it got stained with whatever happened right up to the roots. And over here, although it was lighter in the staining, it looked like it was coming into about here. So even over here, it looked like maybe I'd been growing it out for, just a lot less time than I really had. And that was really in my space. I just felt like someone new might just think that I was really full of myself, and how would I really have come to these opinions or conclusions or about some of what I wanted to share, because it just really looked like I hadn't been growing it out for very long. So that really just kind of I it was just really hard for me. That's all I can say. It was just really hard for me at that point to be able to come in and put the video camera on and actually talk about really any of it, because of my concern about that. So at this point, you know, I feel like it looks enough again, like, you know, like I've been growing it out for long enough that I've got some things to say, and that, you know, and that I definitely have earned the opinions and points of view that I've had. And so I definitely am excited to get back to making my videos again and picking back up with some of the ideas that I had been planning to do, as well as newer ideas from this point forward. So, because I do have some new ideas as well. And now here I am at the 12-month point, approximately 5 months after the mishap took place. Enough of my own hair actually grew in enough to where I once again could start to see that my skin tone, my skin coloring look really nice against my own natural color. And for the first time in 5 months, I finally reached the point where I'm starting to feel like, oh yay, I'm looking pretty again, like prettier at least. Truth be told, the mishap has still affected my hair. It has still taken a toll on my hair. More of my hair would look more white at longer lengths had the mishap not taken place. But at this point in time, at least I feel like I'm looking better again. Ironically, or incidentally, it was about the 5-month point after I last dyed my hair when I actually first felt like I looked pretty promising, and like I was like, yeah, I can finally start to see that my skin tone looks nice against my growing out natural color. It was about the 5-month point after I had last dyed my hair when I started to get really excited about how I'm going to look with my skin tone next to my natural color. And it took 5 months after my hair got stained in that mishap for me to reach that place again. Fortunately, at this point, I have more grow out than what it looked like I had in my original 5 months since I had last stopped dyeing my hair. I do look like I have more grow out at this point now than then. However, I would look like I had more had the mishap not taken place. Some of my hair still does remain stained. It is just finally looking a lot better now. I finally feel like I came out from underneath the dark clouds just really within like the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks. It's finally started to look that much better that recently. Let's take a look at that footage now. Believe it or not, I'm actually at 12 months since I last dyed my hair. Woohoo! In some ways, I thought this day would never come. So here we go. A year of no dye plus a mishap, which, you know, this would be looking a bit different still if that hadn't happened. This would be so much whiter. Yeah, this was one of the things that was very sad for me, was this was my whitest area. But truthfully, it would have been sadder if this side would have gotten hit as hard. This side did get hit. There is some discoloration over here, but it didn't get hit as far to the roots as this did. This got hit all the way to the roots. This was a little further off my roots, and it wasn't as severe. It was a lot less intense. And in a way, I think this would have been worse, even though I had more white hair here, and in that way it seemed so awful that the place I had the most white hair got targeted the most. But this would have probably been more detrimental to my overall look, since this is what shows the most. So it's fortunate that it wasn't as bad there. So there you have it, my friends. This is a review of my first year of growing out my hair. Again, it's kind of amazing to me that I've made it to the year point, and I'm so thrilled, I'm so excited, and I'm very grateful to those of you who've been here along the way with me. It has meant a lot. I've loved interacting with you. I look forward to interacting with you further, because obviously we have a long ways to go on this journey, and I am thrilled that you have been making it with me. And if you're new here, thank you for joining. I'm thrilled to have you here as well, and I will be looking forward to interacting with you. So tell me, what were your favorite parts that you heard here? So what are some of the things that you've noticed along the way in your journey, if in fact you are already on the journey of growing out your hair? Let me know in the comments below. And also let me know if you haven't begun your journey yet, but you're here perusing because you're gathering information and you're just sort of trying to figure out if it's something that you want to do. Let me know that below too. I'd like to know that, and other people who join here and make comments on the wall would be interested in knowing that too. And if you have any questions or any concerns, let us know that too. Maybe we can help you. And as always, my friends, if you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss a thing. I have lots of really awesome content coming up and some giveaways too. So go ahead and smash the subscribe and the bell button so that you don't miss out on that. And smash the like button if you like the idea of that and you haven't already smashed the like button. And as always, my friends, thank you again for joining me here. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever in the world it is you are right now. I'll see you back here again soon. Peace, my friends.